The North Texas Mean Green have a decent football team. I mean, if you look at the conference standings, I mean, you're talking about this is the first team out of the group that went to a bowl game. They aren't as exciting as, say, their diving team when Sailor Hawkins was there, but they're not a bad football team. They had a mercenary quarterback this year, so it wasn't like that they were, you know, building something this year. And like I said, they did get to go to a bowl game. They went 6-6. So let's talk about the Mean Green, like I've been talking about all the other teams in the AAC. They're not super exciting, but at least they were getting far more wins than the teams that I've discussed previously. So let's get into it.
Hey folks, this is Paul with Redneck Sports. I want to thank you for viewing my video, and I want to give you one thought process. There was a famous coach at the University of Tennessee by the name of General Robert Nealon. He had 6 maxims, but number 2 maxim is what everybody should apply to their life. Play for and make the breaks. When one comes your way, score. That's how to live your life right there.
Okay, their record was 6-7 this year. They started out by beating South Alabama. South Alabama was an interesting team. I don't know if any of y'all got to watch uh, any South Alabama football, but they were an interesting team. Let's just put it that way. Some games you're like, okay, wow, these guys were showing some drive, and other games you're like, what happened? I just saw them. So they beat South Alabama pretty convincingly, 52-38. Stephen F. Austin, which is a Division Two team. Well, I say Division Two, Division One FCS. I'm old. You'll have to pardon me. 35-20. Then they got beat badly by Texas Tech, 66-21. Wyoming, they beat Wyoming, 44-17. And I mean, here's the thing. This is a Mountain West team, so that's out of conference. Tulsa, they beat them 52-20. They had a good offense. Florida Atlantic, 41-37 win. They lost to Memphis, 52-44. They lost to Tulane, 45-37. Army beat them 14-3. That one was wow. Um, East Carolina, they lost to East Carolina and UTSA. UTSA was 48-27 loss. East Carolina was 40-28 loss. Both those are like, what in the world? And Temple, they won 24-17. So that put them at 6-6, giving them a chance to go to a bowl game where they faced Texas State, where they lost by 2 points, 30-28. It was a weird season. I'm not even going to try to read into it. Their coach is a man by the name of Eric Morris. He's not a bad coach. He just, I don't know. I don't know where to put him, in all honesty. He's an okay coach. So, and this is showing that he's an okay coach. So let's get into their offense. As I said before, they had a mercenary quarterback, Chandler Morris, and him being a mercenary, I find that kind of sad considering that his dad is a head coach. Through 320 or completed 322 of 510 throws, 63.1 completion percentage. Threw 31 touchdowns and had 12 interceptions. When you've got 31 touchdowns thrown, that's not bad. Um, Leading rusher was Shane Porter, 97 carries, 648 yards, 5 touchdowns. Uh, Leading receiver was DT Sheffield, 822 yards, 11 touchdowns. Now, here's something. Mackenzie McGill had 78 carries, 470 yards, but 10 touchdowns by on the ground. Chandler Morris, a quarterback, had 4 touchdowns rushing, had 242 yards himself. So, and you had a few other guys that contributed one apiece. Chandler Morris, I guess, was worth the money. Other than the fact that he couldn't get them, more than a 6-7 record. DT Sheffield. I mean, if you're looking at that completion ratio, you're talking about touchdowns thrown. What Chandler Morris was able to do with the run game. This was a decent offensive line. You got to give him that. He only got sacked 12 times. So, averaging of 1 sack per game, that's really good. Only had 20, I mean, when you have 12 interceptions but 31 touchdowns, that's some good numbers right there. Uh, Receiving, DT Sheffield, as I said, 11. Damon Ward Jr. had 4. Blair Conwright had 7. I had a few other guys had 2 and 1 apiece. It wasn't a bad offense. You had a decent offensive line that was holding. Actually, you had a good offensive line that was holding. You had good players. I think the run game probably could have been a little bit better, but really, when you've got a guy that's got 10 touchdowns off of just 470 yards, I mean, you're talking about, yeah, they had long, they had guys that have long runs 79, 75, 49, 80, 70, 75. See what I'm saying here? These guys were pretty decent. I mean, they could put up the numbers. So that's what you ought to look at. Now, their defense, uh, you're talking Jalen Smith had 106 tackles. He's linebacker. Brian Nelson, the second, had 4 interceptions. You're talking about no interception got returned to for a touchdown, but they at least got 11. They got 11 interceptions, and Brian Nelson having the 4, that was a bright spot on the defense, and Evan Jackson had 3. So they were able to get interceptions. Forced fumbles, not so good on the forced fumbles. They only had four forced fumbles. There we go. I can speak. Uh, Sacks. Uh, Travis Brown had 4 sacks. Roderick Brown and Braylon Charles had 4.5 sacks each, but they weren't really. They had 24 sacks overall, so 2 sacks per game. They weren't getting to the quarterback quite as much as they needed to. Jalen Smith had 106 tackles. Jaden Hill had 86 tackles. Jordan Brown 78 tackles. Evan Jackson 59. Ethan Waslocki 57. Brian Nelson II had 53. Quentin Hammonds 52. So that's everybody that had over 50 tackles. It was an okay offense. Okay defense. They couldn't really convert what they were doing. I mean, they were okay at getting to the quarterback. Only okay. So that's where some of their problem was, is that they weren't able to force the situation like other teams were, but they were effective. They weren't effective enough. That's the only thing. They weren't effective enough. That was the only thing I can say about this team or this defense. It looks like Eric Morris is building something at North Texas Mean Green. I mean, before he was there, he was a head coach at Incarnate Word. Okay, I mean doing decent. He's got two Southland championships. He was offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Washington State before between Incarnate Word and North Texas. He had a stint at Texas Tech, Washington State. So, he's Houston before that. It's not like he was, you know, he's not extremely exciting as a uh, coach. He really isn't. He was a wide receiver for Texas Tech and for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but I think he'll develop into a decent coach. I don't see him, like I said, I don't see him as exciting. I don't think he's going to make North Texas into an exciting brand. I think what the Mean Green are going to be is a team that's going to hang around the middle. You're going to have to worry about going into them, but if you play really good, you'll probably beat them. That's the kind of coach that it looks like Morris is. And that looks like the kind of team that he's building North Texas into. A horrible, it's nothing horrible. I mean, they're going to be respectable. That's what you can say about them. But hey, this has been Paul with Redneck Sports. If you like this, I'm going to cover all the AAC teams. So give me a like, give me a subscribe. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.
I want to thank you for watching my video. And if you like what you saw, like, subscribe, and comment. Y'all have a good day now.